I got my 2 clips on my timeline. This here is where I want the zoom effect to take place. I'm going here and split the clip. And with my playhead still in the same position, I'm gonna hit Shift R to create a freeze frame. I'm hitting Control D to check the time. It's already set at 1 second. Then I'm gonna right click, go to new fusion clip. And then the second clip, I'm gonna leave it as it is. This is the clip I'm gonna transition into. I'm gonna take this clip into Fusion. Now within Fusion, I'm gonna actually grab the polygon node. And I'm gonna go through here. I'm actually gonna mask this little square out here. Once my mask is created, I'm gonna go into the inspector tab. I'm gonna increase the softness just a little bit, give it a little bit of a soft edge. I'm gonna take the output of the polygon node and connect it to my media out. I'm gonna select my polygon node again, make it in a little further adjustments that I may need. Then I'm going to the inspector tab and I'm gonna hit invert. I'm gonna go to my hotbar here and grab the image plane node, the merge node, the 3D camera node, and the render node. I'm gonna hold shift and grab my media out and move it to the side of the render node. Take the output of the render node, connect it to the input of the media out. My media in, I'm gonna take the output of it and connect it to the green input on the image plane 3D. I'm gonna select the merge 3D node and hit 1 on the keyboard to bring it into my viewer. I'm gonna select my 3D camera node, go into the inspector tab on the transform. I'm gonna move my Z-axis to the right to bring it back into view. I'm gonna hold Control zoom out just to check the framing of my footage. I'm gonna go in and these first 3 nodes, I'm gonna highlight them, hit Control C, move this down, double click in empty space and hit Control V. And then I'm gonna connect it to my merge 3D. And you're gonna replicate this as many times as you want. Now, once you're done, you're gonna go into each one of them and reposition them. The first one here, you leave as is. I'm only gonna use 5 for the demonstration, but I'm gonna select my second one. I'm going to my first viewer. I'm gonna click the right click and my mouse at the same time. It's gonna allow me to rotate in 3D space. Now with the image plane selected, I'm gonna actually go into the inspector tab, click on the transform. I'm gonna go down to the Z-axis and I'm gonna move it backwards. In my first viewer, you can see how far back it is. I'm gonna use the X and Y axis to realign it. So I'm gonna move it down on the Y-axis and I move it over on the X-axis. Then you're gonna repeat that for each one of these. So once again, click on your next image, go to transform, move it back on your Z-axis. You don't wanna move it back too far. Then you're gonna move it down on the Y-axis and then move it over left to right on the X-axis. And you're gonna rinse and repeat. Now, once you have your images aligned the way you want, now you're going to make sure in the first frame of your clip, and select the 3D camera node, go into the inspector tab, on the transform, and select keyframes for the X, Y, and Z axis. Then you want to go into the second to last frame, and you want to begin to move through Z space. Now, if your clip is off center like mine, like my clip is centered, but the part of the video where in which I want the transition to take place is not in the center. So as I zoom in, I'm going to use the X and Y axis to actually try to zoom in on my clip, or the center of my clip rather. Again, if your clip is not centered, you're going to have to go through, maybe make some adjustments to the actual frames themselves, or just the X and Y axis. That's why I say go to the second to last frame. And then once you get to the last frame of your transition, you then want to go to the very last frame, realign it all over again. So if you make any adjustments that you need, move it up and down. Once you make those adjustments, then you want to continue through Z space until you actually exit the frame. If you go back into the first frame, it's going to take a little second to render. It's going to be a little choppy playback. But once it does playback, you get your infinite zoom transition. You can go into the spline editor, click on 3D camera. You can zoom to fit. You see all your different camera angles that was made, or adjustments that were made. I'm gonna select all. I'm just gonna hit S to smooth. From there, you're gonna go into the render node, go into settings, and turn on motion blur. Now back on the edit page, I'm going to do playback, render cache. I'm going to set it to smart. Trigger the little red line here. turn blue, the effect will be rendered to cache and you'll get a smoother playback. Now you can't just leave it as is, but I'm not a fan of it just abruptly changing, so I want to put a transition in between. The only problem with putting a transition here is that this is a freeze frame. Therefore, if I try to go into effects, just grab a transition, it won't let me place it in between because there's not enough footage to lay over both clips. So I'm actually gonna grab adjustment clip and cut it down and place it over both clips. Then I'm gonna go into my open effects. I'm gonna search for camera. I'm gonna grab the camera shake from open effects and drop it down. I'm gonna highlight my adjustment clip and go into effects tab and the inspector tab. I'm gonna crank up the motion scale and the speed and actually a little bit of blur. And there you have the infinite zoom transition. If you want to learn how to create more transitions using Mask, check out this video here, and I'll see you next time.